chapter 6. We'll be covering chapter 6 today, which is on putting yourself in charge, entrepreneurs and small business owners. When we look at this chapter, we're going to we are starting with an overview of the world of small business, what small businesses are like, and why they continue to pop up all over the place. Following that, you'll take a closer look at the process of starting a business, from judging whether you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur to deciding which of the three basic paths to business ownership is right for you. The chapter concludes with a look at a critical issue that most entrepreneurs and small business owners need to address: finding the money to make your dream a reality. Now, understanding the world of small business. The United States Small Business Administration currently defines a small business as a firm that A. is independently owned and operated, B. is dominant in its field, C. is relatively small in terms of annual sales, and has fewer than 500 employees. Although the agency's exact standards vary from industry to industry, adjusting for the competitive makeup of each industry. Economic roles of small businesses. Here are just some of the important roles small businesses play in the economy. They provide jobs. So small businesses employ about half of the private sector workforce in this country and create somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of new jobs. They introduce new products, so the freedom to innovate that is characteristic of many small firms continues to yield countless advances in both technologies and marketable goods and services. They supply the needs of larger organizations. Many small businesses act as distributors, servicing agents, and suppliers to large corporations. They inject a considerable amount of money into the economy. They take risks that large companies sometimes avoid, so entrepreneurs play a significant role in the economy as risk takers, the people willing to try new and unproven ideas. They provide specialized goods and services. Small businesses frequently spring up to fill niches that aren't being served by existing companies. Characteristics of small businesses. Regardless of their primary objectives, small companies tend to differ from large enterprises in a variety of important ways. First, most small firms have a narrower focus, offering fewer goods and services to fewer market segments. This can be both a blessing and a curse. A narrow focus can help you outcompete companies that serve multiple market needs, but it can also limit you in ways such as getting attention from distributors and retailers. Second, unless they are launched with generous financial backing, which is rare, small businesses get by with limited resources, which can mean anything from getting comfortable with used furniture and equipment to juggling a half a dozen different jobs at once. Professionals who have spent their careers working for large companies can be shocked to discover how many tasks they need to accomplish as entrepreneurs. The third major difference between small and large companies is also one of the most common and exciting reasons people go into business for themselves, having the freedom to innovate and move quickly. As they grow in size, companies also tend to grow in both complexity and bureaucracy. Decision-making becomes slower and more difficult as more departments get involved and various groups compete internally for resources and recognition. Factors contributing to the increase in the number of small businesses. 3 factors are contributing to the increase in the number of small businesses today: e-commerce and other technological advances, the growing diversity in entrepreneurship, and corporate downsizing and outsourcing. Now let's have a look at e-commerce and other technologies. E-commerce and other technologies have spawned thousands of new business ventures in recent years, both firms that create the technology and firms that use it. Growing diversity in entrepreneurship. Small business growth is also being fueled by women, minorities, immigrants, and young people who want alternatives to traditional employment. Women are starting small businesses for a number of reasons. Some choose to run their own companies so they can enjoy a more flexible work arrangement. Others start their own business because of barriers to corporate advancement, known as the glass ceiling. The tradition of immigrants starting small companies stretches back to the first days of the United States and continues strong today. With help from programs such as Start Smart, run by Coastal Enterprises in Waycasset, Maine, immigrants and political refugees get coaching and assistance on achieving financial independence through business ownership. Finally, young people are one of the strongest forces in entrepreneurship today. Following in the tradition of Michael Dell, who started Dell Computer from his dorm room, many young entrepreneurs start businesses before they finish college. Downsizing and outsourcing. Contrary to popular wisdom, business startups often soar when the economy sours. During hard times, many companies downsize or lay off talented employees who then have little to lose by pursuing self-employment. In fact, several well-known companies were started during recessions. To make up for layoffs of permanent staff, some companies use outsourcing, the subcontracting of special projects and secondary business functions to experts outside the organization. Others turn to outsourcing as a way to permanently eliminate entire company departments. Regardless of the reason, the increased use of outsourcing provides opportunities for smaller businesses to service the needs of larger enterprises. Starting a small business. A good place to start is by exploring the most common characteristics of others who have taken the entrepreneurial plunge. Characteristics of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are sometimes portrayed in popular media as charismatic, slightly larger-than-life characters. People such as Sir Richard Branson, head of the Virgin Entertainment, Travel and Communications empire. Or more darkly, entrepreneurs are occasionally portrayed as a greedy, predatory lot who are out to take more than their share. Neither characterization accurately reflects the multifaceted world of entrepreneurship. Successful entrepreneurs are as diverse as the rest of the population, although they do tend to share a number of characteristics. They are highly disciplined, they have a high degree of confidence, they have plenty of physical energy and emotional stamina, they like to control their destiny, they relate well to others and have a talent for organizing team efforts in pursuit of a common goal. They are eager to learn whatever skills are necessary to reach their goals. They learn from their mistakes. They stay abreast of market changes. They are willing to exploit new opportunities. They are driven by a passion to succeed, but they often do not measure success in strictly financial terms. They think positively and are able to overcome failure and adversity. They are tenacious in pursuit of their goals. Contrary to popular stereotype, they are not compulsive gamblers who thrive on high-risk situations. Rather, they embrace moderate risk when it is coupled with the potential for significant rewards. Entrepreneurs and small business owners go into business for a variety of reasons. Most have diverse backgrounds in terms of education and business experience. Some come from companies unlike the ones they start. Others use their prior knowledge and skills such as editing, telemarketing, public relations, or selling to start their own businesses. They find an overlooked corner of the market, exploit a demographic trend unnoticed by others, or meet an unsatisfied consumer need through better service or a high-quality product. Importance of preparing a business plan. Getting started in a new business requires a lot of work, not the least of which is planning. Although many successful entrepreneurs claim to have done little formal planning, they all have at least some intuitive idea of what they are trying to accomplish and how they hope to do it. One of the first steps you should take towards starting a new business is to develop a business plan, a written document that summarizes an entrepreneur's proposed business venture, communicates the company's goals, highlights how management intends to achieve those goals, and shows how customers will benefit from the company's products or services. Preparing a business plan serves two important functions. First, it guides the company operations and outlines a strategy for turning an idea into reality. Second, it helps persuade lenders and investors to finance your business. In fact, if you do not have a business plan, many investors will not even grant you an interview. Keep in mind that sometimes the greatest service a business plan can provide an entrepreneur is the realization that the concept just won't work. Discovering this reality on paper can save you considerable time and money. Small business ownership options. Once you have done your research and planning, if you decide to take the risk, you can get into business for yourself in three ways. You can start from scratch, buy an existing business, or obtain a franchise. Roughly 2/3 of business founders begin startup companies. That is, they start from scratch rather than buying an existing operation or inheriting a family business. Starting a business from scratch has many advantages and disadvantages. In many cases, it can be the most difficult option. Another way to go into business for yourself is to buy an existing business. This approach tends to reduce the risks, provided, of course, that you check out the company carefully. When you buy a healthy business, you generally purchase an established customer base, functioning business systems, a proven product or service, and a known location. You do not have to go through the challenging period of building a reputation, establishing a clientele, finding suppliers, and hiring and training employees. In addition, financing an existing business is often much easier than financing a new one. Lenders are reassured by the company's history and existing assets and customer base. With these major details already settled, you can concentrate on making improvements. Still buying an existing business is not without disadvantages. For one thing, the business may be overpriced. For another, inventories and equipment may be obsolete. Furthermore, the location may no longer be satisfactory. The previous owner may have created ill will. Your personality may clash with those of existing managers and employees, and outstanding bills owed by customers may be difficult to collect. Keep in mind that no matter how fast you learn and how much investigating you do, you are likely to find that the challenges of running an existing business are far greater than you anticipated. Excuse me. The franchise alternative. An alternative to buying an existing business is to buy a franchise in somebody else's business. This approach enables the buyer to use a larger company's trade name and sell its products or services in a specific territory. In exchange for this right, the franchisee, the small business owner who contracts to sell the goods or services, pays the franchisor, the supplier, an initial fee and often monthly royalties as well. Types of franchises. Franchises are of three basic types. A product franchise gives you the right to sell trademarked goods which are purchased from the franchisor and resold. Car dealers and gasoline stations fall into this category. A manufacturing franchise, such as a soft drink bottling plant, gives you the right to produce and distribute the manufacturer's products using supplies purchased from the franchisor. A business format franchise gives you the right to open a business using a franchisor's name and format for doing business. Fast food chains such as Papa John's, KFC, Taco Bell and Pizza Hut typify this form of franchising. How to evaluate a franchise? Buying a franchise is much like buying any other business. It requires analyzing the market, finding capital, choosing a site, hiring employees, buying equipment, and most important of all, evaluating the franchisor. Now we come to the advantages of franchising. Why is franchising so popular? For one thing, when you invest in a franchise, you know you are getting a viable business, one that has worked many times before. If the franchise is well established, you get the added benefit of instant name recognition, national advertising programs, standardized quality of goods and services, and a proven formula for success. Now, disadvantages of franchising. Although franchising offers many advantages, it is not the ideal vehicle for everyone. First, owning a franchise is no guarantee of wealth, even though it may be a relatively easy way to get into business. Not all franchisees are hugely profitable. Some franchisees barely survive, in fact. Another drawback of franchises is that many allow individual operators little independence. Franchisors can prescribe virtually every aspect of the business, down to the details of employee uniforms and the color of the walls. Furthermore, when a chain loses its cutting edge in the marketplace, being stuck with a franchise can be painful. By contrast, if independent retailers run into trouble with their product lines, they can change suppliers or perhaps switch rapidly to a whole new line of business. Franchisees cannot do this. They are usually bound by contracts to sell only authorized products, often at a price set by the franchisor. Why new businesses fail? Businesses can fail for any number of reasons. Lack of management skills, experience, and proper financing are among the top 10 reasons for failure. Jumping on a hot trend without considering the long-term picture is another way to risk everything. Although it sounds counterintuitive, growing too quickly is also a significant source of business failures for several reasons. First, the entrepreneurial skills needed to get a business off the ground are not the same skills required to transform a hot startup into a stable business organization. Inventive minds who are stimulated by the joy of discovery and the puzzle-solving aspects of assembling a company can grow bored with the day-to-day work of managing a maturing business. Second, growth puts tremendous pressure on every aspect of a company, and businesses can literally grow themselves into bankruptcy if they are not careful. Third, as small companies begin to grow, they often find themselves butting heads with much larger competitors without having the resources of these larger companies. If you go into business for yourself, you'll probably make mistakes, but they do not have to be fatal. Plenty of entrepreneurs make mistakes, learn from them, and go on to succeed. Also, the number of resources now available to entrepreneurs means you can learn from other people's experiences, including their mistakes. Financing a new business. Even the simplest home-based businesses require some startup capital. The cost for a retail shop or small manufacturing facility can run to several $100,000, and a more complex business might require millions of dollars of invested cash before it can begin to generate sales revenue. Of all the mistakes that first-time business owners make, underestimating the amount of money it takes to get rolling is one of the most common. This mistake can happen in several areas: overestimating sales, overestimating how quickly money will come in from those sales. Corporate customers often take 30 to 60 days or longer to pay, for instance. And underestimating expenses. Lower your sales expectations, raise your expense estimates, and run your numbers past an experienced professional such as a SCORE advisor to make sure you have identified all the potential costs. And even when things work as planned, you might have to survive for several months before you can start putting money in the bank. Now, seeking private financing. Private financing covers every source of funding except selling stock to the public via a stock market. Virtually every company starts with private financing, even companies that eventually go public. 4 common categories of private financing, each of which requires its own special approach in order to be successful, are banks and microlenders, venture capitalists, angel investors, and that old standby of the entrepreneur, credit cards. Banks and microlenders. Now, bank loans are one of the most important sources of financing for small business. But there is an important catch. In most cases, banks won't lend money to a startup that has not established a successful track record. However, as a startup, about your only chance of getting a bank loan is by putting up marketable collateral, such as buildings or equipment, to back the loan. In response to the needs of entrepreneurs who do not qualify for standard bank loans or who do not need the amount of a regular loan, a number of organizations now serve as micro-lenders, offering loans or grants ranging from several $100s up to several thousand or more to help very small operations get started. Now, venture capitalists. Venture capitalists are investment specialists who raise pools of capital from large private and institutional sources, such as pension funds, to fund ventures that have high growth potential and the need for large amounts of capital. Given the amounts of money involved and the expectations of size returns, VCs typically invest in high potential areas such as information technology, biotechnology, and digital media. Angel investors. Startup companies that can't attract VC investment often look for angel investors, private individuals who put their own money into startups with the goal of eventually selling their interest for a large profit. These wealthy individuals are willing to invest smaller amounts than VCs usually invest and to stay involved with the company for a longer period of time. And credit cards, it's an easy way to get money for your business, particularly with credit card companies pitching you and new cards all the time. It is also an incredibly easy way to get into trouble if things do not work out. And going public, in contrast to private financing, in which you request funds from a specific individual or institution. Funds from a specific individual or institution, companies with solid growth potential may also seek funding from the public at large. Whenever a corporation offers its shares of ownership to the public for the first time, the company is said to be going public. The initial shares offered for sale are the company's initial public offering. Going public is an effective method of raising needed capital, but it can be an expensive and time-consuming process with no guarantee you will get the amount of money you need. Public companies must meet a variety of regulatory requirements. And we have now come to the end of chapter 6, and this finalizes our lesson today. I hope to see you next week with chapter 7. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.